In this video I'll be showing you how to make my classic buttonhole rose. Now this buttonhole rose was really popular when I was in full swing. I have made hundreds of these in all different colours. So the basic rose measures between 7 and 8 centimetres wide. It's set on a stem that's about 9 centimetres wide, and I usually decorate this one with 2 loops of ribbon and a single leaf. Now you can choose any colours that you want for your leaves and for your ribbons, and as you can see they are quite sturdy little affairs. They will hold their shape. Yeah, you can lay them on their sides for short periods of time and they won't become misshapen. And they're very simple to make as well. Now it's basically my standard novella rose on a short foil stem. So if you have seen my other videos on how to make roses, the only real difference in this one is how to prepare the stem and how to add the ribbon and the leaf. So please do feel free to use the timestamps or chapters in the video description to navigate around to the part of the video that you would like to watch. So let's begin. First of all, you will need your chosen book. You'll need some kitchen foil, some wallpaper paste, and the instructions on how to mix up wallpaper paste is in the video description, as is the link for the template for the petal shape and the leaf shape. If you download this to your computer and then print it out at 100% on A4 paper, it will be exactly the right size. You'll also need some coloured paper for the leaf, and you can pick any colour that you like. I'm going to use this jewel green and it's Daler Rowney paper. You'll also need some ribbon. Now this is just a basic knit and stitch ribbon. It's 2 centimetres wide, but you can choose any ribbon that you like. It doesn't have to be double-sided satin ribbon because we only need to see one side of the ribbon, and that's why I use this ribbon for the ribbon loops. You'll also need some florist tape and some regular sewing thread. It doesn't have to be white. And you'll also need some regular PVA glue and some high-tack glue. So don't worry about the wire that you can see in the video. We don't need wire for this rose. I accidentally put it in, but we do need a stapler. So to get started, what we need to do is tear some tin foil from the roll. Now I usually tear about 20 centimetres, 18 to 20 centimetres. It doesn't have to be too precise, it can be a few centimetres either way. It's a standard length roll, this one. And what we need to do is we need to fold it in half, fold it in half again, and then fold it in half one more time. And then take one end of the foil and just scrunch it together and twist it so that it all compacts together, and work your way down the stem. Try not to get too many bunchy bits, we just want a fairly smooth looking stem. So what we've got is a stem that is flexible and will still hold its form. So we want to trim this at about 10 centimetres. And this will give us approximately a 9 centimetre stem. So if you do want to have a longer stem, then obviously cut it a bit longer. So the next stage is preparing our book pages, and So to get started, we need to tear 4 pages from our chosen book. Now I do normally tear these all together and hold the book firmly at the top and gently pull away from the spine. So take your 4 pages and then simply fold them in half. Then take your petal template and hold it up right up to the edge of the text. Now I'm going to cut it so there's a little gap at the bottom. So technically our petal will be slightly longer. You'll see how I do this in a moment. Basically, you just need to cut around your petal, and we'll leave the little gap at the bottom because this bit will be bound onto the stem anyway. So simply cut around your petal shape, and we want to cut around it 3 times, and each cut will give us 8 petals, and we only need 21 petals for this rose. And you'll also see that I'm leaving a small gap around my template because my template is slightly smaller as it's worn down over the years. Yeah, so we only need 21 petals for this rose, and 3 cuts will ensure that we have a few spares. So take your petal shapes and lay them out in front of you, and I normally, if you've seen my other videos, you'll know this bit inside out by now, but I normally lay them out in 3 rows of 6 with 2 petals to the right hand side and all the spares to the left. Now if some petals don't have an awful lot of text on them, I'll switch them out or I'll turn them over so that the bit with the least amount of text is on the bottom. But sometimes you'll turn them over and there's not much text on the other side either, so yeah, that's why we have a few spares. So once everything's laid out, we should have 20 petals in front of us, and the 21st petal we'll take from the spares pile. So take a petal from your spares pile. What we want to do is, holding our finger and thumb at the top of the petal in the middle, we want to roll down I guess it's the top of the petal, to the centre of the petal into a really fine point. And what we want to do is to create a nice cone shape. Hold it in place with your fingers and put a good dollop of wallpaper paste inside the cone shape. And then simply take your foil stem, pop it in, squeeze the petal at the bottom, and then take your thread, and we want to secure that petal in place by binding the thread around it several times. So as you wind the thread around, make sure you catch it over itself and start winding it down the petal until you get down to the bottom of the petal and the start of the foil. Then pop that to one side, it won't unravel, and put a good dollop of wallpaper paste on each of the petals in front of you. Now I'll usually put a good dollop in the lower 2 centimetres of the petal. So pick up your stem with the first petal on, take the first petal from the bottom row, and what we want to do is align it with the curl of the first petal facing towards us, so that the bottom of the petals line up. Then secure it in place with a few twists of the thread. So then pick up your next petal, and we want to place it directly opposite the first petal. Make sure that the bottom edges of the petal are lined up, and then secure it in place with a bit of the thread. Now for the next petal, we want to align it so that the middle of the new petal lines up with the very edge of the petal that's already on the stem. Align it with the bottom edge, and then secure it in place with a few twists of the thread. And we want to continue this process for all of the rest of the petals. That is, align the middle of the new petal with the very edge of the previous petal, and wind the thread around in between each petal to secure it in place. This process is the standard process for most of my roses that I've developed over the years. I do have other types of flowers which I will be putting tutorials up for over the coming months. So if you don't want to miss out on those, do hit subscribe, and then you can easily find them next time that you log on to YouTube. And if you do decide to have a go at these roses and you have any questions, do leave them in the comments section below. As you get to the very last petal, attach it in the usual way and wind the thread a few extra times right underneath the bunchy bit, and then slowly start bringing the thread down until it hits the foil. Snip it off and then apply some wallpaper paste in the direction of your thread. Make sure that you catch the end of the thread, and then we can gently tease open the petals of the rose with our fingertips. Now this paper is lovely paper, it's really thick, good quality paper, and it's produced a beautiful rose. So if you are wanting a more sturdy rose, do look for a book with thicker paper. I will come up with an FAQ eventually about the different types of book page papers, because hardback books have very different quality paper from paperback books, and some of the vintage books papers are better than some of the modern paperback book papers. So yeah, I think I will do an FAQ at some point on that. So now all you need to do is simply set your rose to one side to dry. Whilst we're waiting, we'll cut a leaf. I did start cutting this before I press record, so it's partially cut already. I apologise. So simply cut around your template. We don't need more than one leaf shape cut for this rose. So we take a single leaf shape, and with the point facing towards us, we can put a few little notches in the leaf, and all you simply do is a cut of a few millimeters at two different angles to make like an upside down italic V shape, and put 3 or 4 on each side, and then put it to one side for later. So once your rose is dry, you'll see you can squidge it in and the petals just bounce straight back out. It's quite a sturdy little rose, and I think it surprises most people just how sturdy they are. It can withstand being thrown in the air and dropped on the floor quite happily without damaging it. But what we want to do now is just put a little bit of PVA glue just underneath the flower head, all around the bunchy bit. And then take your florist tape and hold it right up, push it right up really into the bottom of the rose and twist it around, and then gradually wind it down the stem. Pull it nice and tightly, and then when you get to the bottom of the stem, you want to make sure the stem is fully covered, and then fold down the florist tape and twist back on itself so that the florist tape starts winding back up the stem towards the top of the flower head. And I'll go about halfway and I'll snip it off and secure it in place with a little bit of PVA glue. And then we want to prepare our little ribbon loops, and I'll normally cut off about 20 centimetres so that our loops will be about 10 centimetres. Cut off 2 lengths of ribbon at about 20 centimetres, and then using our stapler, what we want to do is fold the ribbon in half so the shiny side is on the outside, make loops with both of them, put the 2 loops together so that the top loop is at a slight angle so that the top end of the loop doesn't quite go past the top end of the bottom loop. So basically the loops line up so they just touch each other at the top. Now with the sharp end of the staple facing inward, what I'll normally do is put a dollop of high-tack glue covering the sharp bit of the staple, and then I want to apply it to the stem. Now I normally have it so that the ribbons extend about 2.5 centimetres, and then I pinch the ribbon around the stem and then take some florist tape and wind that around the bottom of the ribbon to hold the ribbon in place. And I'll go about halfway down the stem, snip off the ribbon, continue winding, add a little bit more glue to the florist tape just to secure the end in place. Then with my finger and thumb at the back of the rose, I will use that to bend the stem towards me so that when the rose is being worn, the flower head is facing outwards. Now to attach the leaf, all you need to do is apply some high-tack glue to the lower portion of the leaf and slide it in just behind the ribbon loops. Now the high-tack glue means that you can position this and move it into the right place and the leaf won't fall off. Now you can also place the leaf on the other side if you prefer. But that is basically my classic buttonhole rose. As I said, it was a really popular design and I have made hundreds of these. And so yeah, let me know if you have a go at this, and do give me a thumbs up if you've got this far in the video, because it's really nice to see your support. And don't forget to subscribe if you would like to see any more future videos, because I have got wedding bouquets and bridesmaid bouquets, flower girl wands and all kinds of exciting things to come. So thanks for watching.